Okay, so welcome back to my channel. I am Jason, J''Sinn, and this is from Sin's Perspective Reviews. So I watched the second and third episode of Wussas, and after going through, I think it's about 10 episodes, so I thought, am I really going to watch all 10 episodes and then try to come back and remember? I'm just not going to do that. I'm just not going to do that. So I said, okay, I'll watch 2 or 3 at a time and then come back and do a recap. Okay, so... And I know there was an audio problem with my previous video. I've been playing around with OBS, so hopefully I won't have the same issue with this video. But I won't know until after I do the playback, so hopefully everything works out. Okay, so episode 2, it starts with Kai, Jenny, Tommy, and there was another guy. I think it was, what's the name, Lou? His friend from the restaurant, the guy who was encouraging him to go follow his dreams and actually offered to loan him the money. So I think it was the 4 of them in a tattoo shop. So they were all getting the same tattoo. And while they're getting the tattoo, actually Kai had just finished getting his tattoo. And Uncle Six walks in. And I don't know how they came up with this raggedy, not even raggedy lace front. I don't know what the hell that was on his head, a piece of track. I don't know what that was on his head. It looked some kind of terrible. But okay, this is supposed to be a flashback. Of course, it's just like kind of a certain time in history. I don't know, the 90s, 80s. I don't know what that was supposed to be, but so he walks in and he, tells Kai, we need to go. And so they're in the car and Uncle Six is, he was asking him about the tattoo. Why'd you get the tattoo? And so he's saying to Kai, you know why I don't have any tattoos? And so Kai was like, so it won't be easy for authorities to identify you. And so you could tell that Uncle Six was disappointed that he did that, but he was on his way. Uncle Six was on his way somewhere else. So they get to where they were going. Of course, it's another hostage situation. They have this guy. He's once again half naked. He has a hood over his head. There's already this other guy there. And Kai's at this point he's a teenager. So, of course, he's scared. He's like, what the hell is going on? This guy puts the gun in Kai's hand, wanting him to kill the guy. And this whole episode is basically Kai saying, I'm not a killer. I'm not a killer. And so Kai is standing there with this gun. This man is trying to force him to shoot it. And then eventually Uncle Six snatched the gun from Kai and shoots and killed. And he shot and killed the guy. And so he just basically tells Kai, you're not a killer. And so he walks out. So he kind of stepped in to save Kai from having to do that, make that decision. So we flash forward to present day, and he's in his apartment. He gets a visitor. It's from Uncle Six's right hand woman. I mean, that's a sharp haircut. I like that. I like that little shaved size and the way it got the little designs. That's a tight little cute. That's a cute haircut. But so she came to get Kai. Obviously, he knew it was up. So he went on with her, and Uncle Six is asking him about the fight in his building. And Kai's like, well, I don't know. I wasn't there. And he is basically kind of trying to reach out to Kai. I don't know. It still hasn't been explained, his connection to Kai and why he feels so guilty. Why he feels so he has such an attachment to Kai. I think I'll get into it in the third episode why I think that is, but at this point, it's like, okay, so he is like kind of reaching out to Kai. He wants, to have a relationship with him. But Kai is like, I mean, he knows what Uncle Six is all about. And he's just really trying to just stay out of it and keep his hands clean. He just don't want to be a part of all of that. So they talked for a little while and he left. And so Jenny, this is the morning after she did her little fisticuffs at the end of last episode. So she, she's sore and she's kind of battered and she has like this black eye. And she's up, going about her day. And of course, her Skype goes off. It's her parents. And so they're saying how they're going to be in town, how they want to see them. And, they were just parent stuff. They were just talking. And she's like, oh, okay. So they were telling her, okay, let Tommy know that we're going to be in town. We want to see him. So, so they flashed to Officer CG. So she's on her morning jog and, they have the undercover cop who is actually the captain, but he's undercover as a vagabond, as hobo who's going digging through the garbage looking for plastic or whatever. And so they had a little conversation, and she's telling him about what's his name, Losing Lee, which is the guy, their friend, and how they know that her records were hacked, and how he's trying to find out about her. And so it seemed like, through all his research, she's gotten all clear for now, but just wanted to let her know to stay on her toes. After the conversation that Jenny had with her parents, she goes into her drawer and she has this duffel bag, and she's like pulling wads of money out of this, I don't know, this boot, I don't know what that was. She was throwing it in the bag. And so she goes to Uncle Six. And so actually it was discovered in the last episode that she had taken money from him to renovate the restaurant. And so now she's trying to basically distance herself and kind of wipe her hands clean of him and the whole triad, the whole thing. And so she was like, that's basically half the money that I owe you. And he was like, well, we're friends. That wasn't a loan. That was a gift from a friend. And she was like, oh, okay, when did we become friends? And so he basically the gist of his conversation was like, it's better for you for us to be friends. And so she was basically like, I could take care of myself. And she went on and left that money on the desk, and she sashayed on out. So obviously, that kind of left the bad taste in my butt. Whatever. She's like, I'm just, whatever. Take this damn money and leave me the fuck alone. I'll be back with the rest of your money. But she just wasn't having it. Lee and Kai. So Kai is at Lou's auto body shop because he has to get the truck fixed. Because after the fight, there was a lot of damage. There was damage to the windshield, and so he took it to his buddy so he can get it fixed. And so that's when we see CG. So she don't infiltrated, and she's actually working on the car. And this is when CG and Kai first meet. So Lou sends her to take Kai to go to like this junkyard because they have the windshield that he needs to replace on the truck. And so they go, and en route, they're just making small talk, and she talks about her childhood, which could be real, which could have some air of truth to it, but she's basically talking about her father used to run guns, and he basically ended up getting locked up, and Kai wasn't as forthcoming. He's like, basically in my community, we just learn to keep our mouths shut. We just keep our heads down, we keep our mouths shut, and we keep our eyes open, basically. And he didn't really have a whole lot to say. Next thing you know, you see Uncle Six. He goes to see Mr. Young in the hospital because Uncle Six, this whole episode, he's trying to find out who this old guy was that beat up and attacked his men. And how he got that information was the last two guys that Kai fought in the previous episode, they actually made it back to Uncle Six. They was basically like, he never came. Kai never showed because he sent them there to get Kai. Kai never showed, and this old guy was there, and he basically fucked everybody up. And so now Uncle Six is on the warpath trying to find out who this old guy is. So he's now at the hospital talking to Mr. Young, asking him about who this guy was. And Uncle Six really was like, I don't know who it was. It was just a guy. And so he started doing something to Mr. Young's IB, and eventually Mr. Young said "Wu assassin." He whispered "Wu assassin" or something like that as he was going in and out of consciousness. So now he's like, okay, now Uncle Six is really trying to find out who this guy is because obviously he knows what that means because it affects him. So Kai and CG get to the junkyard to get the windshield. All of a sudden, some other guys show up and started being disrespectful to her, and then she starts kicking ass. She gave as good as she got, and then Kai kind of got involved. And basically, the owner, Arian Bob, basically just told, okay, anybody else does damage to my property, and we're going to have problems. There's going to be problems. So he basically told them to leave. They couldn't get the windshield. So now she's like, listen, what are you going to do without this windshield? And he's like, I'm just going to have to figure it out. So then you see Lou, he's back at the shop, but he's talking to these Russian guys. So these Russian guys, you find out, works for Mr. McLaughlin, which is the guy, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that man's name right, who's trying to push in on Uncle Six's territory. So he's like has some kind of deal with them. They're trying to get these certain type, these specific cars within a short amount of time. And it was like, it's going to take me at least 2 weeks. It was like, we need these cars by this time. And so he's he's got himself in a situation there. So Jenny, now she's looking for Tommy. How she found out where he was, I don't know. He's in some crack house. He's high out of his goddamn mind, passed out. He done shot up. And he's just in La La Land. So she goes to get him. So it's obvious that she was aware that he has a drug problem, which is why she was hesitant to give him the money. So she goes to try to get him out of this crack house. And some guys come in and basically like, he's not going anywhere until he gives us the $300 he owes us. And so she was like, I don't have that much money on me, but I'll bring the money back. And of course, they wasn't going to let her go because, you know, they ain't in that type of business. Like, no, we want our money now. So she ended up having to fuck them all up and dragging his high up ass out of there. So yeah, so so she got some moves. So we saw that she got some skills too. So so Kai is now so what am I did I skip something? Okay, so Kai and CG she pulls up to his place and they kind of talk about the fight and the whole thing, and that was fine. He left and he went in. So then so now Ying Ying is now back. She's kind of pulled him, I don't know, his consciousness, I guess, because obviously his body's there, but his consciousness is there. And she starts training him. Now we find out Ying Ying is the first Wu assassin. And she's basically doing her job, which is to train him and prepare him. Now the thing I like about this is that it's not the typical male teacher who's like, you know, teaching the student. I like the fact that it's a female student and that she is obviously she's cute as a button, but she can fight her ass off. And she's basically, it's her job to get whip him into shape and to teach him how to use his ability. And so that's basically what she's doing right now. One of his tasks was she created this huge boulder, and she was like, once you move this boulder from here to here, then you'll be ready to move on to the next level. And so it wasn't like a really short, it was probably like 3 inches of, I don't know, it wasn't even, maybe 5 inches. He had to move this boulder, and so he was just trying to use typical like strength, trying to push it and do all this thing. But then he eventually figured out how to get that done, and so she was able to open the door to the temple, and he was able to go into the temple where he would be able to I won't say meet, but he would be in company of the other Wu assassins. And so it was almost like he went on some kind of vision quest, like if things don't go the way that they should, this is what he can look forward to. And so they basically showed him, you saw Lu Xing, is that Lu Xing? I don't know. He's all fucked up and he's in the auto body shop. His face is all messed up and he's sitting there holding a gun. He's all bloody and jacked up, right? And then you saw Jenny. It looks like Jenny was holding a talisman, like the same thing that Ying put in his hand, which turned him into the Wu assassin. All you saw was this bright light. And then he saw Tommy. He saw Tommy put a shotgun in his mouth and blow his brains out. And then you saw Uncle Six. He was fighting Uncle Six, but then he saw CG, and then Uncle Six set CG on fire. And so now he's like, that's when he realized that Uncle Six was actually fire. So it's like 5 elements. Fire, wind, I think water, metal, wood, something like that. And so Uncle Six is actually fire. So, like I said, Uncle Six is, so it basically ends with Uncle Six sending people out to look for this old guy. So that's basically how episode 2 ended. So episode 3 picks up with the Russians going into like one of Uncle Six's, I don't want to call it even a trap house, but it was like this decked out kind of place where they were doing karaoke. They went in and shot and killed everybody, right? So of course that made the news. Kai and CG. So Kai finds out where CG lives, and now he's like outside her house. So it's dark, and so she goes into her house, and she's going through her emotions, but you get the feeling that she knows that he's out there, so she pops up behind him with a gun to his head, basically like, what the hell are you doing here? So now he's trying to explain why he's there. Of course, she's not believing, what he's talking about, so she called the police because she has to put up a front, like she can't just blow her cover because this, so she's like, she got him off, she fought him a little bit, and he he really could have fucked her up. I mean, she got some skills too, but he could have went on and fucked her up if he really wanted to. So she called the police, and she was like, the police on the way. She kind of had him tied up some kind of way. And so he was telling her about his vision about how Uncle Six was going to kill her. And she was like, well, what are you talking about? And as he's talking about it's a dream, and I saw he said she on fire. And of course, nobody in their right mind would believe that. But she humored them. Okay, the police came. And so he was basically like, I just wanted to tell you that. So he basically just got out of the restraints and just went on, disappeared. So by the time the cops got there, he was gone. And she gave her a little statement, and that was the end of that. So Tommy's at Jenny's place, and he's going through withdrawal. So it's like he's going through the motions. He's like, you can see he's in pain. He's vomiting. He's really sick going through it. And Jenny basically told him that she's tired of going through this. That I think he's already been in rehab, and it's just he keeps talking about how he can do this, how he can beat this, and how he's trying to do better. And it's just what junkies do. They just lie. She's tired of hearing it, and so she basically want him to get his shit together. So she leaves for the day, and as he walks out the door, he receives a text. And so you don't see what the text is, but he's kind of like, okay, what now? So Kai goes to the restaurant, goes to Jenny's restaurant. And he basically starts talking to her, and he was asking her, so does the job offer still stands? Because she wanted him to work in the kitchen. And so they kind of went back and forth, did their little banter back and forth. And she was like, she went on and offered him the job and gave him the job. But she was like, I know we get the menu. And he kind of was like, what? I remember the menu. It's the same menu. So she was like, okay. He said, really? So she called out, she got to name some dish that he was able to make it from memory. And so they had their little dance in the kitchen where they're both kind of putting in their little ingredients. And then, it was a whole thing. But anyway, he got the dish together and gave it to the old guy that got beat up in the first episode. So he's still working there. She eventually tells him that she took a loan from Uncle Six. And she didn't want to say anything. But, she's just, just it is what it is. And he was basically like, don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. And she's basically like, you can't beat Uncle Six. Nobody can. And so she walks off. And so you can see him thinking his wheels are spinning like, how am I going to get this man out of the way? So, CG, she meets with the captain again. And he basically tells her about the members of Uncle Six's crew that got gunned down. And how she needs to just keep her eyes open and be careful. And so Uncle Six, the people have now reported back, basically like nobody knows who this bald chef is. Nobody knows who this person is. And so basically he puts out his little thing saying, okay, just kidnap all the bald chefs. So these fools they are going through the damn Chinatown, snatching up every motherfucking body with a shaved head. Okay? So they got this van, and they just throwing motherfuckers. They just snatching them off the street, snatching them off the job, snatching them off they don't give a shit, and they just toss them in the damn van. And who's driving the fucking van? Tommy. So they finally pull up to so before that, Kai finally gets into his apartment, and Uncle Six is there. And Uncle Six is basically like, okay, the other team is basically targeting me. They killed some of my guys, and I feel like you might be in danger. And so they had their little exchange. And Kyle was basically like, I just never wanted to be like you. And he said, what's that? He said, he was like, a monster. And so, Uncle Six was basically like, there's no such things as villains or heroes. There are just people, like business. Like, he just basically explained to him, like, just fantasy idea that you have of the bad guys and the good guys is basically a fantasy. That's not how real life is. It's, so things are not that black and white. And you'll understand that as you get older. And so they parted ways. and they parted ways, and so Ying pulled him. So Ying, I guess, pulled him back. His conscience back. It's like, okay, you had the opportunity to kill him. Why didn't you take it? And so it's like, why didn't he take it? I think that he does have some. He does care for um, Uncle Six as much as he can, but yeah, I don't think that he was ready to. He obviously wasn't ready to do make that move at that point. So Kai calls Tommy. Outside of the apartment building, Mr. Young has a convenience store. And so one of his guys was out there loading up the produce outside so people can go see what they have. And so Kai comes out of the building. By this time, Uncle Six Men came and snatched up the guy putting out the produce. And so Kai's like, what is going on? What happened? And Uncle Mr. Young, Mr. Young is like, oh, they're rounding people up. So so Kai ends up calling Tommy. He's like, please tell me that you're not involved in this. If you're involved in this, please just get out now. Just get out now. And Jenny, so they pull up to Tommy. He pulled up to his own restaurant, where his sister's restaurant. And he's like, don't telling the woman, Uncle Six right hand man, don't hurt his sister. But Tommy ain't nobody. She rather swat at him like a damn fly. Like, let's go sit down somewhere. So she went in to grab Jimmy, which is the old ball guy that got beat up in the first episode. So she went to grab him. And of course, Jenny's there. She tried to fight the woman, and the woman fucked Jenny. Jenny got some skills, but she wasn't ready for that ass whooping. That was, girl, she was all her head was all up in the damn produce and all in the freezer and the frozen chickens and shit. She tossed that woman like a damn rag around that kitchen. It was a mess. So she incapacitated Jenny, and she snatched up old Jimmy and tossed his ass in the truck with the rest of them people. So what happened? CG. Okay, so after Kai left, she was looking at some stories from the time where there was this fire in Chinatown. And she saw a guy in one of the photos. She was able to zoom in and see this guy. So she found this guy. He found out he was a former cop. And so she's kind of asking him about this fire and what happened. And he was explaining to her like it was a fire monster. Like that's what he saw. That's how he described it. He was like, normally fires move from one room to the next, but he was like, it moved through the building like a snake. And he thought it was going to actually consume the whole of Chinatown, but it didn't. He was like it was like somebody was controlling it. And she's like, what do you mean some fire monster? And he was like, and the only thing I can't get out with the children screaming. And she was like, wait a minute, there were no records of the children screaming. There were no records of any dead children. He said, well, they didn't die. He said they seemed like they should have died with, how badly burned that place was, but those children survived. And those children are Jenny, Tommy, I think Lou, and Kai. And so she was like, is this the guy you saw? And so she showed him a photo of Uncle Six, and he said no. He said, did he threaten you? Did he pay you? The man was shaking, said no. He said when I say it was a monster, it was a fire monster. So he didn't actually see a person, he just saw fire. And so she's now like, oh shit, what the hell have I got myself into? So he actually leaves first, and then she eventually leaves and to go do whatever the hell she's gonna do. So CG actually calls Kai because she wanted to talk to him because obviously he told her about the dream and the fire and the whole thing. Okay, so Kai finally catches up with Tommy now after they've rounded up the last guy, and they get him and throw him in the van. So next thing you know, you see all these old men on their knees, and Uncle Six he's coming down the escalator. So they all about to shit themselves because they all know Uncle Six. They know him. So obviously a lot of people are afraid of him. So they all like, oh shit, what the hell is going on? So he's going through and looking at the guys, and eventually the old bald guy, aka Kai, said, I'm the person you're looking for. And so Uncle Six told them to take the other men back to wherever they were, take them home, take them back to wherever they snatched their asses up, take them back there. And so now there's a face-off. So you have Kai, or this who looks like the old man, and you have Uncle Six, and they're now standing here and face to face. And so that's how episode 3 ended. So I figure it's gonna be some kind of battle. I don't know what's gonna happen, but yeah, that's all I can do. So like I said, I'm gonna watch 2 or 3 episodes at a time and do a recap. I'm not gonna be able to watch all 10 of these episodes and come back and do it. I'm not even gonna stress myself out like that. So yeah, I'm gonna end this here, and I will talk to you guys later.